Yo, 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 yo. What's going on? It's your man Louie T here with a bonus pod. Jumping on here kind of spontaneously following the national championship game. Ben Johnson rumored to be going to Chicago. So a number of topics I want to kind of tackle, get in front of. So gonna get up here, chop it up with y'all, talk about a couple of things, break down this game, kind of talk about this Ben Johnson to Chicago thing and maybe some of the dominoes that may be falling because of it, and a host of other things we may get into here. But you know what it is. Louie T Network podcast, bonus pod, starting now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to a bonus pod episode. Kind of spontaneous. Probably weren't expecting this one. But somebody had asked me, Louie, are you going live for the national championship game? Nah, I'm not. I'm not going live. Not going live. So let me just state this real quick. I'm not a massive college football fan. I've said that before, but I don't know if people be listening when I talk sometimes. I say things and I'm not sure if you're listening or not when I say them. I enjoy college football. I indulge, I dabble in college football. I don't obsess over college football like I do the NFL. I obsess over the NFL. It could be the Jacksonville Jaguars playing against the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to watch. I can't help it. Right? I may complain afterwards, oh, that was terrible, but I watched it. I watched all 3 hours and 6 minutes of it. I could turn a college football game off just like that with no hesitation. I could not watch a college football game, even though it's number 2 versus number 3. I could not watch it and have no issues not watching it. So trust when I say I'm not a massive college football fan. Some of you are diehard college football fans. You care about recruiting. Hey, did you see that we got this kid number 2 recruiting the nation out of Tennessee? Like, I don't give a shit about none of that. The only reason that I am invested in college football is because they are the pipeline to the NFL. And the next generation of NFL stars come from college football. So that's where I become invested. You had 2 prestigious programs, 2 programs that have an abundance of talent that are going to play on Sundays. But I told you this on the last podcast episode, I being a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, that we weren't going to win this game because we weren't more talented. The one team I did not want to see in this college football playoffs was Ohio State because they were the most talented team in the college football playoffs, believe it or not. Some of you might say, well, Texas or Georgia, Ohio State. Give me Ohio State. Now, did they have the best quarterback? No. But he sure did kick our ass tonight. We could not stop Will Howard tonight. We made him look like a first-round pick quarterback. Really disappointed in the defense. If you want to ask me what was the most disappointing thing about tonight, I thought this defense was prepared to really make it hard on Ohio State. And the way that we came out in this game, the first 4 possessions, Ohio State went right down the field and scored a touchdown on every single possession. It wasn't until they felt like they had the game well in hand at 31-7 is when they took their foot off the gas pedal and we actually started to mount a comeback. But it was embarrassing looking at Notre Dame defensively, who had been one of the best defenses all season long. Ohio State amassed over 400 yards of total offense. Ohio State amassed a 9 of 12 third down conversion rate in this game. That was the major number. 9 of 12, 9 of 13, one of the two. We couldn't get off the field on third downs. Every big third down, including the one at the end that was the backbreaker, you cut it to 8. And I told y'all this. I think I mentioned this to y'all at least once, that I didn't trust our kicker, Mitch Jeter. He had been ass all season, like really hit or miss. And I've been telling, my dad's a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. Shout out to Boss. He's a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan as well. And I said, I don't trust this dude, man. This guy stinks. And Boss, he's like me with college football. He'll watch. If it's on, he'll watch, but he ain't stressing over it. It's not the NFL. NFL, he's watching everything, just like me. I mean, I got all of my mannerisms from my dad. So he'll watch college if it's on. It's on, so I watch. But not pressed. Like, I'll go to bed. Like, Boss will go to bed on a college football game in a heartbeat. But I told him, I said, Mitch Jeter, buns. I hope a game never comes down to Mitch Jeter's leg, because if it does, we're going to lose. And that field goal he missed, special teams killed us in this game. We went for a fake punt. I mean, it was 28-7 at the time, but still, you go for it. That's desperation. And look, we were desperate at the time. We're down 3 touchdowns. I get it. But you gotta convert. If you're gonna go for it that deep in your own territory, you gotta convert it. That led to an Ohio State field goal, made it 31-7. And in the structure of this game, that missed fake punt coupled with the missed field goal led to Ohio State being in a position where they kick a field goal late and it puts the game out of reach. But how about you not give up a 56-yard completion on 3rd and 11? How about you not do that? And that was the story of the game. We had no answers for Quinshawn Judkins. We had no answers on 3rd downs. We made Will Howard look like Joe Burrow tonight. That's how porous we were defensively. It was a really tough thing to watch, because that's not the Notre Dame. We didn't tackle well tonight. That's not the Notre Dame defense that I had watched this season. It was really sad. But again, this is what happens when you step up a level in competition. And I talked about this. I said, this is the reason why Notre Dame probably won't win a national championship unless they're playing an inferior opponent that doesn't belong there, like a TCU a couple of years ago against Georgia, right? They had no business being there, and Georgia was like, thanks for the gift. That's what we are going to need to win a national championship, because if it's a Texas, if it's a Georgia, if it's a Bama, if it's a Ohio State, we're not going to have more talent than that team, because it's Notre Dame, right? We can't get the transfer who has a 2.78 GPA. We can't get the guy that, barely got through high school, hates school, but he just made it through. We can't get that guy because we have academic standards. So you're picking from a small pool when you're at Notre Dame, and you can't get the type of athlete that a public institution, and one that allows, some things to be swept under the rug, or, hey, we'll figure it out. We'll get you in African-American studies, and we'll get you through, and you'll make sure you're on the roster. We can't do that at Notre Dame. So you got to pick from the best of the smart guys, right? You're picking from the same pool with Cal and Stanford and Duke, and it's tough, right? And I'm proud of Marcus Freeman and the team he was able to put on the field after that NIU loss. And the transfer portal gives us a chance, right? It evens the playing field, but at the end of the day, our quarterback was Riley Leonard. And I told you guys, he's not good enough. Now, after the game felt well in hand by Ohio State, he started to complete passes all of a sudden, because, again, Ohio State took their foot off the gas pedal. And all of a sudden, he started to become accurate. And shout out to Jaden Greathouse, because he had been really solid for us all year, and he made a couple of big plays in this game. The 2 touchdowns that got us back in the game, he was responsible for both of them. At the end of the day, though, we just don't have enough talent. Here's one of my biggest gripes too, right? I know Jeremiah Love isn't 100%, and he was gutting it out, and I understand that. But how is it that Jeremiah Love has 4 touches in this game. 4. Most explosive player on offense. How is it that Jadarian Price has 3 touches in this game? How is it that our running game, which is the catalyst for our success offensively, how is it that our running backs, and I get it, Ohio State's good against the run. I don't give a shit. How is it that our running backs combined for 7 carries total, and our quarterback has like 16 carries? Like, that first drive was fool's gold. Like, you can't keep that shit up. He was about to die on that first drive, was Riley Leonard. He ran the shit like 7 times on the opening possession down. Like, you can't keep that up. He barely made it through the first possession. Can't keep quarterback drawing. This ain't 1965. He couldn't even complete a shallow cross in the first half. He was awful. And I knew that this was going to transpire. And I said, Ohio State's more talented, and it's going to show. And, when we needed to stop the most, we couldn't get it. Excuse me. We couldn't get a stop. And it didn't matter if it was Tate, it was Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith. We couldn't get a stop on third down. Or it was Will Howard's legs. That hurt us too. He was like, hey, I can run too. We made Will Howard look like Joe Burrow in this game. How many incompletions did he have? 5, maybe? 6 max? I'm thinking the number's like 5. What was it, like 16 to 21 or some shit? Like we couldn't stop him. How many rushes did he have? Like 15, 16? Most of them on third down? Backbreakers? 3rd and 11 with the game on the line, down 8. You need to stop it. You give up a 56-yard completion in Jeremiah Smith. Our tackling was horrendous tonight. The Quinshawn Judkins first touchdown, like, that's not Notre Dame football. Guys haven't been scoring touchdowns on us like that, breaking 3 tackles and getting into the end zone. But that was the night tonight. But that is a large part of the discussion that I talked about last episode of the podcast when I said they're just more talented than us. That's why I thought we would lose this game. They're more talented than we are. But I'm glad we made it somewhat respectable at 34-23, because for a moment there, this was going in that Alabama Notre Dame national championship game territory from back in 2012 or whatever it was. It was going down that road, right? Going down that path. Well, I was like, oh shit, this is about to get ugly. Man, are we about to get embarrassed? So that forced fumble, when they were driving to put the stake in our heart, that kept us alive at 31-15, because they were going to score. We couldn't stop them. That fumble, that kept us in the game. We went down. We scored a touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, cut it to 8. And it got tight for Ohio State. It got tight. But you missed the field goal. That would have cut it to 5. That was a big miss. I can't stand Mitch Jeter. But I'm not going to beat up a college kid. Like, that's not who I am. Like, don't let it come down to Mitch Jeter having to kick a field goal. Get a stop. Find a way to not let the score get to 31-7 at one point. Don't give up a touchdown on 4 consecutive drives to start the game. Have some backbone, right? Show a pulse defensively. Like, you've been one of the best defensive teams. I get it. They have more talent than you, but you can't go out there and wet the bed like we did today. Hats off to Ohio State. Hats off to them. They were the better team. They had more talent. And you know who needed this more than anybody? Ryan Day. They wanted to run this man out of town after they lost to Michigan. He needed this more than anybody else. Good for him. The dyed beard, he looked like he hadn't slept in 3 weeks. Good for him. He needed this. He was under a lot of immense pressure. Those boosters were going to run his ass out of there. Had they got eliminated at some point in these playoffs, they would have run his ass out of there. Good for him. You win a national championship. It gives you an opportunity to exhale. Now they're off your back. Now you can go out and just breathe a bit. He's like Tony Braxton. He can breathe again. Good for him. Marcus Freeman, he's a made man after taking this sad sack of a team to the national championship with Riley Leonard at quarterback after losing to NIU. He's a made man at Notre Dame. So he didn't need this national championship. It would have only made him like an instant legend in South Bend, but he's already damn near at that status after doing what he did this season. So he didn't need it. Ryan Day needed this chip. He had to have it. And where will Will Howard rank amongst Ohio State national? They've won 7 natties now. What does he rank? Man, he stinks. I would imagine of the 7 national championships they've won, he's got to be at the very bottom of the totem pole. He played well tonight, though. He really did. But he's got to rank at the bottom. This is like the sad part about this is this isn't a super talented Ohio State team. This isn't a super talented team. Like this isn't the, like the team that won with Cardale Jones was dumb talented. This isn't even that, the Ohio State teams that competed at a high level against like the U and like this team pales in comparison to those teams, but they still have more talent than Notre Dame. And they were the better team tonight. And again, this was 31-7 at one point. So I don't want to make it seem like, oh man, a play here, a play there. No, we got our asses whooped by the better team. So I digress. Congratulations to Ohio State for getting it done. They get the first ever national championship in the expanded 12-team playoff. And be interesting to see if any changes take place to that playoff here in the next like 3-4 years. I don't think anything's going to happen in the immediate future. I thought it was a successful first playoff, even though the games weren't super competitive. You had like 3 really good games. Even this national championship wasn't super competitive. We made it interesting late. But this was, come on, man. This was 21-7 at half. It was 28-7 early stages of the third. And it was 31-7 late stages of the third into the fourth. Like, this wasn't a competitive game for much of the contest. We literally had an opening drive that gave us false hope. And then we got 31 unanswered points scored on us. It was the equivalent of Bo Nix scoring the opening touchdown against Buffalo and then getting 31 points put on your head consecutively as you get your dreams, snatched from you, and you get a belt put to ass. That's essentially what this was. We just happened to be able to make it somewhat interesting late. But the better team won. The team that deserved to win won. Shout out to Ohio State for getting their 7th natty. And shout out to Ryan Day for saving his job because he needed this. He needed this pretty bad. Anyhow, I digress. With that said, let's get to the gym dropping session. Shall we? Yeah, I think we shall. I think we should do that. Let me drop this gem on your melon. And this is late night Louie for all of y'all out there. I already had about 2-3 cups. This is my 4th or 3rd one, whichever one it is. I'm feeling nice. Yeah, it's one of them type of nights. So we can go there tonight if y'all want to go there. But I digress. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. Ben Johnson heading to Chicago. Reports are he's finalizing a deal to go become the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. I'd be lying to you if I said I was surprised. I thought that's where he would end up before this process got started. But once we started hearing rumors to the Vegas Raiders and how we heard he wanted to have a say in the GM, I had convinced myself and I had made up my mind that he wasn't going to Chicago because of their current situation. So to have him decide to stay in that division, go against the team that he had been coordinating here for the last, since 2019, I believe he was the coordinator there. So for the last 5 years, for him to go against them and stay in the division, I didn't see that coming, right? But if you had been paying attention to the Ben Johnson saga, right? Last offseason, turned down, opportunities to become a head coach, made a big stink about Washington having basketball guys. We got our revenge, boy. Revenge is a very, very beautiful thing. And it's a dish best served cold-blooded. And that thing was so ice cold on Saturday night. Oh, that was great. We got Ben Johnson. I'm a actual big fan of Dan Campbell, but got Dan Campbell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and their place kicker, Jake, what is his name? Jake Bates, all in one fell swoop. Feels good to be a Commanders fan right now. We out here doing work. But I'd be lying to you if I told you I thought he was going to Chicago. Just felt like the Raiders, Tom Brady's influence, being able to hire Lance Newmark as your GM and kind of forge this relationship with the front office, with the guy that you have a working relationship already because of his time in Detroit. It just felt like that's kind of the environment, the culture, if you will, he was looking to establish. Having been in an environment like Detroit where he saw firsthand what it means to have a GM and a head coach in lockstep with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, I just thought that's what he was after. But I was wrong. And I should have stuck to my guns. I should have stuck to my gut. My gut feel said that he wanted a ready-made situation. That's why he didn't want to come to Washington last year. Because he claimed he had unfinished business. But ultimately, I think what it boiled down to was he wasn't convinced that any of the jobs last year were ready-made. If, for instance, Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl and he retires last year, and Kansas City was looking for a new coach, Ben Johnson wouldn't have been looking to take care of unfinished business. He would have taken his ass and his talents to Kansas City. If the Bengals last year would have fired their head coach, Zach Taylor, or even this offseason, but let's just stick with the premise of last year because he was taking care of unfinished business in Detroit. He would have taken his ass to Cincinnati to be the head coach of the Bengals because Joe Burrow was there. He was looking for a ready-made situation. I thought he would have been interested in the Chargers job, but they weren't interested in him. I don't even think they interviewed Ben Johnson. They were fixated on Harbaugh. So Jacksonville probably intrigued him because they had a quarterback. Like, he wasn't going anywhere there was this stupid rumor, well, he's going to go to Vegas and he's going to trade for Sam Howell because John Keim debunked that theory already. He said, John's a nice guy. I'm going to try to get him on the show in the summertime for the summer series again. And I'm going to ask him about it too. I don't run from the smoke. I'm going to ask him about it. John's a nice guy. So he's going to keep it buttoned up. He's going to keep it PG. But without saying, he said it's not true, right? And I'm not here to call anybody a liar. Like, it is what it is. But bottom line is, I don't give a shit. It don't have nothing to do with Washington, right? At this point, we got our guy. We got the right man for the job. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big proponent of that. So I could care less as to why Ben Johnson didn't take the job. He didn't take the job, and he shitted on us in the process. So he got what he deserved. But all along, the consensus was he wanted a ready-made situation. And the Raiders aren't that. So when I was hearing his name, like kind of like what I know from moving forward, I just need to stick to my guns. I need to stick to my gut because I'm like the Raiders. That he part of the reason he turned down Washington is because he couldn't see a path to success. It wasn't easily in front of him where he could say, all right, I could see how I could go in there and win immediately. He didn't have the balls because he's a beta. Yeah, I said it. He didn't have the balls to come in here and try to turn this shit around. It was a mess. Who are we kidding? We were 4-13 last year. So he didn't want any parts of that. I get it. It's just the way he handled it. I said that throughout the entire process, just the way he handled it. So for him to go to the Vegas Raiders, they're not good. They weren't good this year. They're a mess of a franchise. They don't have any talent, and they don't have a quarterback, and they're not in a position to get an elite quarterback. And to think that Sam Howell is the answer was crazy. It was fool's gold. I wasn't buying that. I was buying the allure of, hey, I get to do this the way I want to do it. I get to bring in Lance Newmark as my GM. We get to build this thing from the ground up. If we want to trade for a quarterback, if we want to sign one in free agency, because if Ben Johnson loves Jared Goff, then there could be a free agent quarterback or one in the draft that he's like, yo, I can make him work. So I'm not here to tell him what will or won't work. The man was out here getting the shit done with Jared Goff. But we all know Jared Goff, at the end of the day, when you strip him down to the bare necessities, Jared Goff is still Jared Goff. It's only so far you can go with that. There's only so much you can do with that. It's Jared Goff. And while he's a hell of a pocket passer, this is a new day and age in the NFL. And Steve Young, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to keep it a bean with y'all. I OD'd on Washington Commanders content today. And it bled over into the misery of Giants and Cowboys fans. I watched some of that shit too. I couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't get enough of that shit, man. Giants fans tweaking, Cowboys fans crashing out. I indulged in as much of that as I did actual Jaden Daniels, the slob fest that was going on with him, and rightfully so. And they late to the party. I've been telling them this shit since week 3 against Cincinnati. They just now catching on. I told them we was winning this game. I didn't think we was going to go score 45, but we're a team of destiny. And it's because of Jaden Daniels. But the crash out has been epic for the Giants and the Cowboys in particular. Just epic. And so I indulge in as much of that because, yeah, the Eagles being in the NFC Championship game, I mean, the Eagles was there 2 years ago. The Eagles have been a good team. The Eagles was in the playoffs last year. Like, it's not a surprise. That ain't why that's not why Giants and Cowboys fans are crashing out. They're crashing out because we're there. Like, wait a minute, the Commanders? They were 4-13 in the laughing stock of the NFL last year. What are they doing there? Dan Quinn, 1 year, Jaden Daniels. Oh shit. That's the beauty in all of this is, what are you doing here? Like, we expect the Eagles to be somewhere around here. What are you doing here? I said, hey, we belong here now. Get used to it. Some movement. Get used to this. Your movement's shit. Our movement's sick. You don't know what this is? Get used to this. My quarterback's a movement. Get used to this. It's crazy to watch, but to go back to my original conversation about Ben Johnson, I'm shocked he took the Chicago job because I thought he wanted to have full autonomy. I thought he wanted his own GM in place. I thought that was the reason he wasn't going to take the Jacksonville job or the Chicago job. Because even though Chicago has a ton of talent, and again, I went against my gut. My gut said he wanted a ready-made situation because he's a beta. He don't want to go into a situation. He's not Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell went into a situation that people probably told him, Dan, don't take that job. But, it's Dan Campbell. Like, let's not act like Dan Campbell was a high priority on 6 teams list. Like, he was a longtime assistant, former player, bought his time, whether it was Miami or New Orleans. He bought his time as an assistant, but nobody was looking at Dan Campbell like, yo, we got to hire this guy. So when the opportunity presented itself and he was offered a job, he's going to take it because I don't know if I'm going to get another opportunity or not. It was the Lions, bro. Like, let's not act like, because we know what the Lions are now, let's not act like that's what they were when he got there. They were one of the laughing stocks of the NFL. And that man went in there and he changed the culture and he changed the mindset of the players. He got them to believe. And Ben Johnson was there before he got there and then saw how he transformed that entire organization. And he got to see that firsthand. And he's not built that way. He ain't built for that. You can't have a weak stomach and do what Dan Campbell did. That ain't for everybody. What Dan Quinn did this year, that ain't for everybody. You can't have a weak stomach and do that. He wanted a situation that he could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not mad at him for that. You want to set yourself up for the best possible success, right? You want the situation that gives you the best chance to be successful. Of all of the jobs that are available, you could argue Chicago is the one that sets you up for the most success. And I said that on my podcast, whether it was last episode or the episode before or both of them. I said, Chicago gives you the best chance to go in and turn it around. I could see Chicago being an 11, 12 win team next year. Mind you, they were 4-2 before their bye week. They came off the bye. They met Washington and that Washington walk-off, a.k.a. Noah's Ark, a.k.a. Bear Trap, absolutely crippled their season. Ended it in one fell swoop. And again, it was poetic justice. It was the football gods blessing these damn Eagles or Bears fans because they had been so nasty. And I told you, God don't like ugly, and neither do the football gods. They don't respond well to that. They put you in your place when you start talking about injuring people and saying stupid shit. They're going to tighten you up real quick. Have you begging for mercy. I ain't heard from a Bears fan since. We put 11 straight on their head, right? 11 straight losses on their head. That'll tighten you up real quick. Or 10. I think it was 10 straight losses. They ended up, 5-11? Or excuse me, 5-12? That'll tighten you up real quick. But make no mistake about it. Caleb Williams, really talented quarterback. A slew of wide receivers and skill position guys. Cole Kmet at the tight end position. DeAndre Swift at running back. Roschon Johnson at running back. DJ Moore at receiver. Rome Odunze at receiver. Keenan Allen at receiver. Like, the talent is an abundance of talent. Abundance of riches offensively. Ben Johnson is like a kid in a candy store with that amount of talent. Like, he's like, I can do a lot with this shit. This is more talent than I had in Detroit. That's not wrong. You're not wrong. That's more talent. You're more talented at the running back position, maybe the tight end position in Detroit, but there's way more talent at receiver in Chicago than there is Detroit. And the discrepancy between Sam Laporta and Cole Kmet, I don't think it's a big gap. The production may be, but the talent, I don't think there's a big gap at all. If there's one at all between Cole Kmet and Sam Laporta. Athleticism wise, Cole Kmet is right there with him. Right there with him. So I'm not shocked that he chose Chicago from a talent perspective. I'm just shocked that he chose Chicago from a power perspective, from a dysfunction perspective. But I'm going to ask you, now that the decision potentially has been made, reportedly he's finalizing a deal. It's not done yet, but it feels like it's a done deal. So we're going to assume Ben Johnson is the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. So now I ask you, what does that do for the Chicago Bears? How does that change them? We don't know Ben Johnson, the head coach. We only know Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator. So if nothing else, he's going to go there and call the plays. Is this going to elevate Caleb Williams to one of the better? Look, the NFC, I've talked about this before in past years, it's wide open. It's wide open. Quarterback-wise, now there's a new sheriff in town. His name is Jaden Daniels. He runs the conference now. First year, NFC Championship game. And I've been retweeting my ass off. I've been quoting my ass off on X. As I told you, you already knew I was going to OD. I mean, I'm overdosing on content right now. I still got more videos that I have to watch. I cut my video watching binge short to do this podcast to come chop it up with y'all. So I got more shit to watch. I'm going to indulge in OD on Commanders reaction videos and people's reaction to us going to Detroit and putting 45 on their head. And the funny part is, I'm listening to people, they're still in disbelief. And some people want to make it Detroit this, that. They had 500 and they won't gonna stop us though. Like, granted, I get it. They had 5 turnovers. We scored 45 points and could have scored 50 to be let's be honest. We could have scored 60 if we had to. I mean, think about it. They stopped us on a 4th down. And we settled for a field goal on a possession that if we wanted to score, we could have. We punted once. Like, don't get it twisted. If we needed to score more, we could have. Yeah, they were moving the ball, so were we. Okay. They had 521 yards of total offense. We had 481. Let's not act like we had 376. Okay. We were 40 yards away from them. And if we needed to have more yards and more points, we could have. So let's keep it in its proper perspective. They were the better team going into the game. We were the better team on Saturday night. Every time they made it close, every time there was a response that was necessary, we gave it. But with that said, Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in the NFC. There's a wide open conversation about where you rank the rest of the quarterbacks. Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy. Like that. That's the cream of the crop in the NFC after Dak Prescott. I don't want to leave him out. That'd be disrespectful, even though it's Dak Prescott. But I don't want to be disrespectful because when Dak's healthy and he's playing well, regular season Dak, he can be problematic. Postseason Dak, not so much. But that's the list. But you still got guys like J.J. McCarthy. We don't know. Obviously, Michael Penix Jr. Like, it's a young crop of quarterbacks that may be ushering in, this this new age of quarterbacking in the NFC, Caleb Williams is, you would assume, in that mix. Played well this season at times, held on to the ball. And the biggest issue I had with Caleb Williams, and I said this when we were going through the draft process with him, was, can I trust him to run an offense on time and on schedule and deliver the football in a timely manner that syncs up with the way the play is set up to be run? Can he operate in an NFL offense on time and on schedule? That was the biggest knock, or not knock necessarily, question I had. It was something that I was very fearful of him going to the next level. And in year one, he kind of confirmed what I thought was his biggest knock, which was he took a lot of sacks, a lot of deer in headlights. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions, and he set records for not throwing interceptions as a rookie, but that came at the cost of taking a lot of bad sacks. A lot of bad sacks where you go, bro, you just killed the drive. You want to know why they lost to New England at home and only scored like 3 points or 6 or whatever the number was, and lost to New England at home? Because he took a lot of bad sacks, put them in some bad spots that they couldn't recover offensively. And so Ben Johnson's got his hands full. While that offense is super talented and so is Caleb Williams, you have to kind of change the mentality there. You have to get Caleb Williams to play on schedule. Jared Goff was an on-schedule quarterback. And so that's what Ben Johnson is accustomed to. He's not used to a guy holding on to it and taking bad sacks. But I talked about the athletic arrogance, right? If you're a coach, that extends to you as well. You think, I can fix this guy. I can go in there and make him whole. He's broken right now, but I can fix him. I can make him whole. So I ask you this question. Ben Johnson plus Caleb Williams equals what? What does this equal? Mediocre, 7 and 10, 8 and 9. Does it equal playoffs? 10 and 7, 11 and 6, 12 and 5, etc. Or does this equal elite? 13 and 4, 14 and 3, 15 and 2. What does Ben Johnson plus Caleb Williams equal if the reports are true and Ben Johnson is going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? What does that equal in your mind's eye? We know what kind of play caller Ben Johnson is. We don't know Ben Johnson, the head coach. We don't know what he stands for, what he's going to be. What we've heard, right? What you've read, if you've been reading the same thing I've been reading, is he's putting together an all-star staff. Dennis Allen is supposed to be his defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen is a good defensive coordinator, but I wouldn't necessarily call him an all-star at the defensive coordinator position, but he's a good defensive coordinator. He's a better coordinator than he is a head coach. If you would have told me he got Robert Saleh as his defensive coordinator, I was like, okay, oh shit, wait a minute. But Robert Saleh's like, nah, I'm a head coach. You know how that goes. When you are a former, coordinator turned head coach, you've been a head coach for 3-4 years, ain't no going back, right? Takes a lot of swallowing of the pride to say, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go back and be a coordinator. Like, that's why Rex Ryan at this point, he would take a coordinator job. He just wants back in the league if he can get it. But there's so much bravado there. There's so much, he's too much. He does too much. He's too open with the media. He brings too much attention. But there's also that, you know, there's also that mindset of, hey, I'm a head coach now. Like, being a coordinator is beneath me. Nobody's coordinator. I'm a head coach. Some dudes aren't willing to swallow their pride and go back to that. Some guys are like, I'm an NFL lifer. I just want to be a part of the fraternity and the brotherhood. I'll do whatever because I just want to be a part of it again. And others are like, nah, I'll go get a job at CBS or Fox or ESPN, be at somebody's desk. I'm a head coach. If you ain't giving me that opportunity, then I just won't do it. Like I credit Mike Vrabel because he could have sat out this year. He could have sat out this year, collected a check from the Tennessee Titans, and not done anything. And he would have still been one of the hottest commodities on the market, and he would have gotten a job just like he did. He could have got that same Patriots job having sat out at home this whole year. And that man was like, nah, make me a special assistant to the head coach in Cleveland. Let me stay around the game. Let me stay active. And a lot of dudes aren't willing to do that. They're not willing to stay active in that regard. They like, nah, like Ron Rivera jumped on TV, but he wants back in. He jumped on TV immediately. Bill Belichick jumped on TV, but he wanted back in, right? Like Belichick, now obviously, he's not going to be nobody's coordinator. Ron Rivera interviewed to be the Eagles defensive coordinator. Like he wanted back in. So not everybody is like turning their nose up at an opportunity to be a coordinator again, but a lot of these dudes are like, nah, not going back. You know, Lovie Smith was like, I'm not going back to being nobody's coordinator. I'm a head coach. I think Robert Saleh is kind of there. If he doesn't get a job this cycle, I could see him taking somebody's defensive coordinator position. But right now, he's like, nah, bro, I'm still a head coach. And I heard he's really in the running for that Jacksonville job. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of Ben Johnson, Detroit Lions, Aaron Glenn, while we're on the subject matter, two teams, and I talked about this the last podcast episode, Saints and Jets are the two teams that are kind of zeroing in on him. He would take the Jets job if it was offered. I told you that last episode that that's his preference. They have a top-notch defense, similar to Ben Johnson walking into a gold mine offensively from a talent perspective in Chicago. Aaron Glenn will be walking into a dearth, a wealth of talent on the defensive side of the football in New York with the Jets, should that job be offered to him. You got questions on offense, but in his mind, I can play all the man coverage I want and blitz and be aggressive because of the corners and the defensive players that I have, and get after teams and force turnovers and limit the exposure that my offense will have and win football games immediately. Saints job, not so much. Not so much. So you understand why he wants the Jets job, but we'll see what the Jets decide to do. So all signs point to the coaching carousel speeding up. Now that the Lions are eliminated and their two coordinators will more likely than not be hired, it's going to speed up this carousel. So there were 7 openings, 6 to begin with. Cowboys added their name to the list, made it 7. Quickly, the Patriots reduced it back to 6 by hiring Mike Vrabel. And with the Bears finalizing a deal with Ben Johnson, that reduces the number to 5. And I think Aaron Glenn's going to end up in either New Orleans or the Jets, and that would reduce the number to 4. And the Titans have already hired a GM in Mike Borzongi. So now there's only one GM job left. That's in New York with the Jets. Excuse me. The Jets and the Raiders have GM openings. So there were 3. Now there's 2. As a Commanders fan, I'll just say this. Ben Johnson going to Chicago made it feel like, oh shit, well, Lance Newmark will be back. Feels good to get the band back together. Not necessarily. He's had interviews elsewhere. He has had an interview with the Jets. I have heard his name surface as a guy that could end up with the Jets GM job. I'm trying to hold on to my stuff as long as I can. I'm selfish, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I think Cliff is going to be back based off of this run. Had we lost sooner, Cliff would have been able to interview a lot sooner, or he, would have been available. He has chosen not to interview because he doesn't have to. And honestly, it ain't none of these jobs a slam dunk. Like, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, you know what I would do? I would wait one more year and see if Zach Taylor gets fired in Cincinnati. Like, that's the job, man. If I'm an offensive guy, that's the one. I know Ben Johnson will be kicking himself if Zach Taylor gets fired next year. And he took the job in Chicago and shit doesn't work immediately. Now, he may have ultimately made the right decision for him and his family, and he may ultimately become a rock star in Chicago like he was in Detroit. But Joe Burrow, that's the job if you can get it. And, Zach Taylor has to absolutely wet the bed next year for him to get fired. But if you're Cliff Kingsbury, you're still being paid by Arizona until 2026. You're getting paid a good salary by Washington. So you're double dipping, and you're coaching one of the best quarterbacks in football, top 5 quarterback in the league, number 1 quarterback in the NFC. There's no rush. You're having fun. Did y'all hear Dan Quinn after the Lions game hugging him? Says, hey, man, don't leave me, right? Hell, after the Tampa Bay win, our GM, Adam Peters, told him, hey, man, don't leave me. They having fun, and they over there begging him like Blackstreet. Don't leave me, Cliff. Please stay with us one more year. Don't leave. No. We just want one more year. That's all I want. I ain't going to be greedy. Just one more year. That's it. So we'll see what happens when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson to Chicago was a shock. I'm not going to front. I'd thrown Chicago and Jacksonville out of the club. I said, it's yours if you want it, Vegas, because you got the GM opening. Those two don't. And the Jets are a mess. They're a dumpster fire. He's not going there. And he said, come on now. The Raiders don't even have a quarterback. What I'm supposed to do with that roster? I was like, how bad you want to have your own GM? He was like, not that goddamn bad. I don't blame him. And if you had to choose between Jacksonville, the two teams with quarterbacks that you think you can win with right away, Caleb and Trevor Lawrence, I would have chose Caleb too. Full disclosure, I would have chose Caleb too. We still don't know what the hell Trevor Lawrence is, if we being honest with each other. Yeah, he got a playoff win. That shit was sus as hell. And he gets injured. He's been inconsistent. We still don't know if he's actually really good or not. We really don't, to be honest. We think he's good, but we're not sure. So I digress. Metaphor, what we doing here? First you called him Jodeci. Then you called him Backstreet. What we doing, Metaphor? Come on, man. You better than that, Meta. You better. You missed the whole entire L. But we don't do L's around here, so I'm going to let you slide. But you missed a whole entire letter, right? Come on, man. Let's get our lives together now. All right. Let's transition to social media maneuvers. I'm a midnight marauder. Y'all know what it is. Cups up. We going to the chip. We going to the chip. We going to the chip. Shout out to Ohio State. All right. I don't have any animosity towards y'all, man. The Ohio State University are your national championships in college football 2024-2025 season. They get it done. Ryan Day saves his job with that college football playoff run because they wanted his head on a stick after the Michigan loss. And to do what he did against Oregon, Tennessee, and now Notre Dame pretty much saved his job. That's what it did. To make that run, Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and then Notre Dame, pretty impressive. And he's a made man in Ohio State now. He goes down in Ohio State lore with Herb and Jim Tressel and all of those guys who have won. Didn't do it in a traditional fashion like those guys did, but he got it done. That's all that matters. So let's get to the comment section. Y'all know how this works, or maybe you don't. If you don't, I got no issues explaining it. All right. I asked my son to put my little pen on my desk, and he put it in the most random, weird spot. Had me digging for it, but I found it. So, in case you don't know how this goes, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If it is pertinent and time permits, we'll get to the comment. But if you want to ensure that your comment is read, super chats are the way to get that done. So, with that said, let's dive in, see what you guys have to say. We'll finish the show up talking about the final 4 teams left in the postseason and talk about what Championship Sunday might look like this year. So let's dive in, see what you guys have to say. We start with Mr. Sensational. Wow, that is a different name. Mr. Sensational. I like it. Who writes, just a reminder, we go into the NFC Championship, baby. What a reminder. You know what? Let me tell you a quick story. It's very brief. It's random, but I've expressed this to you guys. I believe I have, but maybe I haven't. I'm at the stage right now where I expected to be here after we beat Tampa Bay. But I was confident going into the postseason. Right? Confident as anyone could be. But it's still unreal that we're here. Right? That 3-game losing streak shook us to our core. I was talking reckless at 7-2, man. Like, what? You couldn't tell me nothing. Nah, la, 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 wait till we get our quarterback right. Oh, you couldn't tell me nothing at 7-2. And he was banged up at 7-2. And you still couldn't tell me nothing. Because after he got banged up, we beat Chicago, and then he went out and he stroked, the New York Giants. And I'm like, even though he ain't 100%, his 80 to 70% is still better than most dudes in the league's 100%. We good over here. So you couldn't tell me nothing. You can't. You couldn't tell me nothing. Then that 3-game losing streak hit. That shit hit like crack in the 80s, bro. I was down bad. Not like some of y'all. Some of y'all was jumping off the cliff. Like, whoo. We started hearing about the cliff. Oh my God, we selling. Same old Commanders. Like, I mean, some of y'all was going through it. That wasn't me. I was talking Super Bowl and all kinds of first round bye, number one seed. I was talking all kinds of crazy shit. I had to scale it back, right? I was talking about buying a 3,000 foot square home, and then I was like, nah, I probably got to scale it back to like 1,700 square feet. I was talking crazy. 6 bedrooms, 4 baths. I was outrageous. And then the 3-game loser streak was like, nah, you more of a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,700 square footer. Calm down. Chill out. That's more your price range. Okay. Noted. I had to, football guys had to bring me back down to earth. I was talking crazy. But once he got healthy again, I was like, shit, we back. We back. And so let me tell you the story because I went off on a tangent. Y'all know I do that sometimes. I went off on a tangent. So I'm watching a reaction video to the Lions loss to the Commanders. I think it was whatever show Nick Wright is on with what's the dude that used to work for ESPN that used to cover the NBA. Can't remember his name. But it's whatever that show is. I don't watch a lot of these. I don't watch these shows at all, but they talking about my team. And I told you, when I go through these binges, I'm getting everything, right? I want to hear what everybody talking about. And now normally I don't give a shit what they talking about. I ain't listened to Nick Wright in like 7 years. I couldn't tell you. I didn't even know he grew his hair out. That's the last time. I ain't seen this man in forever. Last time I saw Nick Wright, he was on ESPN. That man been on Fox 1, Sports 1 for like 4 years now. I couldn't tell you. Last time I saw him, matter of fact, I lied. Last time I saw him, I think he was with Chris Carter. I think. How long ago was that? 4 years ago? Like, I don't know. Bottom line is, they were talking about Jaden. And was it that show? No, it wasn't that show. I'm tripping. It was this show called like Breakfast Ball or something like that. And the dude that was talking, I like that guy. The one of the dudes that was talking. I had watched him before talk about Jaden because he gets it. He's like, yo, this dude is crazy. He's like, the Commanders are where they are because of Jaden Daniels. And like, this kid he can do anything. They can win the Super Bowl because of him. Like, and he said, hey, they went into Detroit. They scored 45 points. They went for it on 4th down 4 times. This kid it's the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen. The Washington Commanders are 1 game away from the Super Bowl. And when he said that, that shit hit me like I didn't realize we were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. You would have thought like I just woke up out of a coma that I was in since week 5 and like, oh shit, we 1 game away from the Super Bowl. He said that shit and my heart started to race and I just felt this like adrenaline rush through me and I looked at my wife and I started laughing like the Joker. And she said, what? She had her headphones in. She took her headphones. What? And I kept laughing. She said, what? I said, we 1 game away from the Super Bowl. We 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Yo, we 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Hey, what the F, bro? Yes, Chris Broussard. That's his name, DCJ. That's right. Chris Broussard. We are 1 game away from the Super Bowl. What in the holy hell? And I'm not surprised because I thought this team was capable, but I'm just hearing that shit out loud still. It's wild. It's wild. Mr. Sensational, we going to the championship, baby. Yeah. Hell yeah. We go into the chip. 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 Yeah, yeah. That shit is crazy, bro. I can't, man. Like, this shit is awesome. And the beauty is we ain't done yet. We got unfinished business with the Eagles. And then whomever we meet on the AFC side of the bracket, it's gonna be epic. It's gonna be epic. And they still and the thing I love is we the 6th seed, so they gonna count us out regardless. Like for as much as we've done, it still ain't enough to get them to think, oh, we going to Philadelphia and winning. Oh no, it was Jared Goff. He stinks. They turned it over 5 times. That's the only reason they won. They still gave up 520 yards of offense. Newsflash: the Eagles aren't the Lions on offense. I just in case you didn't know, but cool. Yeah, I know they got Saquon, and he's all world, and I get it, but they're not the Lions on offense. Not just in case you didn't know, but yeah. Hey, let's talk about that. Let's. That's why it's social media moves. Let's talk about. Did Alex Smith look, bro? Let me talk to Alex for a second. Alex, come here. Step in the office. Shut the door. No, shut the door. We got to talk. Sit down. Have a seat, man. Get comfortable. How's the leg? You good? Yeah. How's the family? Man, the girls are growing up. How old are they? Yeah. Oh man, that's great. How's the wife? She good? Yeah. Awesome. Love to hear it. All right. So, reason I called you in the office is because we know your stay in Washington wasn't the greatest, and the environment wasn't the best. So I get it. I understand. There's a little animus. We feel it, right? Like there have been a lot of scarred quarterbacks that have left Washington and had some, bad experiences. Mark Sanchez, Dirty Chaz, as I like to call him, he doesn't love us. Hell, he doesn't even like us. He calls our games because it's his job, but he does it in a way that lets us know, hey, I wasn't there very long, but the little bit of time that I was there, your organization was shit. I get it. I'm not mad about it. Things have changed. I just would like you to understand that it's not the same. And I'd like you to respect us for who we are now, not what we were. But anyway, Alex, we've adopted you as a surrogate son. You were here, your life was forever changed while you were here, and we love you like a son. But if you disrespect us one more time, we will abandon you faster than your head can spin, right? Or as a wise man once said, I can't remember what he said. Blame it on the drink. I just remember he said, "You getting knocked the f out like Mike Tyson." I can't remember what he said right before it. Normally, it would have just, boop, it would have just came to my head. I'm trying to think of that line. It's coming to me slowly, not as quick as it would have if I wasn't impaired. But he said, "Coming up." Let me see. Coming up to your wallet, coming to strip your cash, bitch. We coming out swinging so fast it'll make your head spin. That's what he said. You getting knocked the fuck out like Mike Tyson. That's right, Alex, bro. Patrick Mahomes has done less, has done more with less than Jaden Daniels? Huh? Wait, what? Hold on. Wait, what? It's one of them type of situations you go, you drinking your drink and you thinking Alex about to say some rational shit, so you just sipping your drink and you like, and then you hear the shit and you like, quick head turn. What? Alex, the man has 2 future Hall of Famers on his team right now as we speak. Now, One of them might not still be at the apex. The other isn't at his apex either, but he's still shit. He just had 117 yards in the divisional round. He's still playing at a high level. And Travis Kelce, you got DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to be a future Hall of Fame wide receiver as well, more likely than not. You got Xavier Worthy. You got Hollywood Brown. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here, bro? No, his offensive line might not be the best, but this man has a top 5 defense in the NFL. What are you talking about? He's doing more with less. Shut your dumb ass up, Alex. Sorry, you making me say some stuff that I don't want to say. Shut your dumb ass up. You sound stupid right now. Just because your situation here wasn't great, don't demean our quarterback and try to make it seem like. Look, I told y'all, save the backhanded compliments. If you ain't gonna just give me a compliment, I don't want your backhanded compliment. Don't give me those. I'm more upset if you give me a backhanded compliment than if you would have just left me out of your mouth altogether. Period. Pause. Keep my quarterback name out your mouth if you're not talking with some sense. I'm not telling you that you got to be fully on the Jaden Daniels bandwagon. You ain't got to be if you don't believe. But if you're going to be talking stupid, because I get that you're trying to protect Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't the best quarterback in the NFL still. But if we're talking about the best quarterback in the playoffs right now, who's playing the best football in the playoffs right now, is there really a debate? Tell him, Damian Woody. Tell him. Tell him, Damian Woody. Tell him. Louis Riddick. Tell him. Tell him. Mark Schlerowith. Tell him. Who playing the best football in the playoffs right now? Because they ain't listening. They can't be watching because it can't be Mahomes. It ain't Josh Allen. And God forbid, it definitely ain't Jalen Hurts. Come on, man. What are we playing for? Why y'all playing this game? We know Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Nobody's debating that. That's not the conversation. But don't sit here and tell me he's doing more with less. Alex, bruh, stop it. You sound dumb. You sound bitter. And I'm disappointed in you. All right? Stop it. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section some more. Juan Gotti talking sports. My guy Juan. Salute to you, bruh. Who writes, just watch your son run right into your arms after we won. What a moment that you all are going to always remember. Let's win the NFC, then this damn ring. It was a great moment, man. Like, my son isn't really old enough to really know what the hell's going on right now. But it's great to have that moment that we can look back on when he's 12. I can play him that video and be like, you don't remember this. No, I will say this. My son has a mind like a steel trap. His mind works like mine does. I can tell you some shit that happened when I was 4. Most people can't remember shit that happened to them until they were 5. I can remember shit that happened to me when I was 4. My son can remember shit that happened to him when he was 3. He's different. You know what I mean? He's different. Like, he'll bring up some shit and I'll look at him because you got to parse through the bullshit. You know how kids do. They'll make up some shit. So you got to parse through the bullshit. But then he'll tell me a story and I'll be like, son, that never happened. That you just made that up. That never happened. But then he'll say some shit and it'll be to the T. I'm like, you remember that? He's like, yeah, you remember the time, Dad, when we went here and you did this and Mom said that? And I'm like, yeah, all of that shit happened. All of it. You remember that? He was like, yeah. He don't miss. He'll make some shit up, but he don't miss. I won't be shocked if he remembers that, Remember, Dad, we beat the Lions in the playoffs? He might not remember that. He might not miss. He might not forget that. I won't forget it. That and when we beat the Falcons, he was sitting next to me. I let him stay up that night. Normally, I'll let him watch the first quarter. We'll be throwing a football in the living room. He'll be running around. He don't be watching the game for real. He just want to be up, because he got a teacher. So I think I told y'all this. He had a teacher. He got a counselor at his school that's a Cowboys fan, and she was sending my son home with Dak Prescott and Dez Bryant and all kinds of Cowboy stickers on his backpack. And I'm like, yo, son, where did you get this from? What is this? We can't get jiggy with this shit. He's like, yeah, Miss Hill gave it to me. That's his counselor. Shout out to Miss Hill, man. I love Miss Hill. I hate that she's a Cowboys fan, but I love Miss Hill. So we went to one of the, the parent teacher nights at his school, and we met Miss Hill for the first time. She's good people. But I'm like, ma'am. And I made sure I wore my commander's beanie. I told you I don't go nowhere without it. I said, ma'am, do you see what this is? We're not converting my son into no Cowboys fan. We're not doing that. I worked too hard for this. So we're not doing that. Stop putting Cowboy stickers on my son's backpack. I'm taking them shits off and I'm throwing them in the trash. Stop it. Like, we're not doing that. So my son would go to the library. This is the sad part about us being Commanders fans and not Redskins fans. He goes to the library to check out books. And he'll bring home a Vikings book or a Bears book or a Colts book. And he's brought home a Cowboys book. I was like, son, we don't do that. But there's no Redskins book in the library. They took them all out because we're not the Redskins anymore. So there's no books in the library that he can bring home and I can talk to him about the history of the Redskins. Those books don't exist at the library, right? I have to go on Amazon and purchase a Redskins history book to tell him the history of the Redskins. He can't go check it out at his local library. That sucks. So I was fighting against a lot of factors. But when you do it the right way, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And so he brought home a sticker. She said, Miss Hill gave me this sticker, Dad, but it's a Cowboy sticker. We don't like the Cowboys, right? I said, right, son. He gave me the sticker, and I was standing out front of my truck. We had picked him up from after school program. He gave me the sticker, and I put it on the ground, and I stepped on it. It was wet outside. It was raining. I stepped on it. He said, yeah, Dad, you stepped on the sticker. And it stuck to the bottom of my foot, and I peeled it off when I got home, and I threw it in the trash. That's where we at with our fandom now. Like, he's full-blooded. I bought him so when I was growing up, my mom and dad bought me, shout out to my dad, because he didn't force being a Cowboys fan on me. He let me choose. They bought me a Mark Rippon Riedel Hutch helmet, jersey, pants set. If you remember, if those who know, if you got to be of a certain age to remember the starting lineup set, right? The starting lineup. And it was one of them joints. And when we won the Super Bowl in '91, I had the whole fit on, the helmet, the jersey. It's a fake little jersey, and the pants. And I was running around the house. And I said, man, how cool would it be if my son had the same thing I had when I was his age? So I bought him that for Christmas. He'd been talking me to death about a Commander's helmet. Dad, I want a helmet. Do they have helmets my size? I want a helmet, Dad. So I got him a whole set. That's the helmet y'all saw him with on the stream if you watch my live stream. And he's commandered out now. He got gloves, hat, helmet, shirt, everything. I got to get him a jersey, and I want to get him a little hoodie or whatever. But it was a great moment, one that I won't forget. It'll be even better if we, make it to the Super Bowl. But just to go back in time a little bit, he was downstairs with me watching. I let him stay up and watch the whole Falcons game because he was on Christmas break. He didn't have to go to bed. But normally, because he'd be talking me to death during the game, like he'd be asking me questions, and some of them are good, but most of them like be bullshit, and then he'd be just talking all the time, like, bro, I'm laser like focused. I'm trying to watch the game, and he just be talking. I'm like, yo, and I don't want to be mean, and I want him to love football, so you can't be an asshole to him because if you want him to have warm and fuzzies about the game. So you can't be an asshole to him, but you like, bro, just so I be trying to get him to just focus without being mean or, making him feel small. But he just, my son, he can go, boy. He's loquacious. He can go. So that particular night, he was chilling. We played catch in the first quarter, and then second quarter, he sat down next to me, and he was just watching. So I let him stay till halftime, and then he was quiet. So I was like, bro, you want to stay to the third quarter? He was like, yeah. He ain't say nothing. So I was like, yo, you good as long as you sitting there. And I thought he was going to fall asleep because normally if I let him stay, he just fall asleep. He was locked in during that Falcons game. He won't say nothing. He was just watching. So I was like, yo, you good as long as you going to sit there and just watch. Occasionally, Dad, they got the same amount of points as us, Dad. What's going to happen? We about to find out. Dad, we winning. We going to win this game? Like, those questions, I don't mind those questions. I can answer those quick. He took that whole game in, and then when we scored the touchdown in overtime to clinch the playoff berth, I just looked at him. I got 5 on it. And he just looked at me like, yeah, Dad, we won. And I picked him up, and I was swinging him around. I think y'all saw that. I think I don't know if I was live with y'all or not, but I think I might have been. I might not have been, but I think I was. I went live or something, and he was like right there with me, and he was locked in, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Picked him up. He almost hit the ceiling. I was so excited. And he told me the other night, I think I told y'all this. He said, Dad, I know who my favorite player is. Because he didn't know Jaden Daniels' name 2 weeks ago. He didn't know his name. He said, I think I know who my favorite player is, Dad. I said, who is it? It's number 5, Jaden Daniels. I was like, yeah, son, that's a really good favorite player to have. That warmed my heart. So yeah, Juan, let's get this damn ring, bro. Let's win the NFC championship game, and let's get this damn ring. I'm with it, bro. I'm with it. I'm with it, man. Just Andre, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Are y'all asking how old my son is? Or y'all talking to somebody else in the comment section? I can answer that question if you ask him. If you asking how old my son is 6. My son is 6. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Just Andre writes, you like Ben Morrison as a cornerback for the Commanders, and do you think he's a fit in Quinn and Witt's system? I like Henderson as a running back for us. Trayvon Henderson he's cool. I don't know if he's like NFL dynamic. I think he might be college football dynamic. Like Judkins is NFL dynamic for sure. I don't know if Trayvon Henderson is NFL dynamic. I think Henderson might end up being like a David Montgomery at the next level, which is cool. That's cool. But those dudes don't scare you, right? They can hurt you, but they don't scare you. It's levels to this shit, like I always tell y'all. You want Jahmyr Gibbs, that's Judkins, right? Of the two backs, that's Judkins. Like Jeremiah Love, when healthy, he is Jahmyr Gibbs. Like from a speed standpoint, like I don't think he is like shifty like Jahmyr Gibbs. Like those don't grow on trees. But as far as Ben Morrison is concerned, yeah, he's good, right? And yes, he does fit what they want to do because he can play man coverage, but you gotta be healthy, and you gotta be consistent because man it's a different animal when you're getting put on an island to consistently play against the league's best. And it takes a different type of animal to do that. But Morrison's shown me some things, but again, with Notre Dame's schedule, right? We are independent. it's hard to really evaluate some of our players, especially the skill guys. Like I love the offensive linemen and the tight ends because that translates no matter what the competition, physicality, athleticism, that shit translates, you know, no matter who the competition is. But when you talking about a position where running and you know, sudden change of direction, agility, that type of stuff matters. I can't gauge that when you playing Stanford, you know, when you playing Army, or excuse me, not Army, Navy. You know, these are the teams we play every year. Boston College. Like, it's hard for me to really identify if he's a true athlete or not. You're not playing against upper echelon competition. Like, it's Duke, bro. Like, what am I supposed to do with that shit? You know, it's Florida State on a down year when every athlete that they had transferred and jumped in the portal. What am I supposed to do with that? Like I can't identify if he's really good or not. So as much as I want to be like, yeah, okay, I saw him play against Ohio State. I saw him play against Jeremiah Smith. I saw him play against Clemson. I saw him play against LSU. I, I can't say that. He doesn't play in a conference. He plays as an independent. So it's games like against Navy where there might be 17 passes. It might be 11 passes thrown the entire game. They run a triple option. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough for me to say if he can or can't. Like, I want to say yeah, but I can't say that for 100% sure. I can be 100% certain. Um, Thank you for the the Washington Chef. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, we go into the chip. We go into the chip. We go into the chip. Feels good. Feels good to be a Washington fan. Indeed, it does. Indeed, it does. And the Washington Chef, those who know, right? There's some out there that don't get it. They don't understand what it's been like for 30 years to be a fan of this organization. And then there's people who get it. And I want to give a shout out to all of them right now. Those people who have been a, subscriber to the Louie T Network for a decade. And while the content has changed over the years, obviously, to kind of fit the changing climate of YouTube. And I may not do as much content for the team you root for as I used to back in the day. A lot of fans, I was telling my wife this earlier in the day. I was like, man, a lot of fans that I ain't talked to in years, they've come out of the woodworks just to show some love and some support. Like, yo, bro, I've seen names over the last 48 hours since we beat the Lions going to the championship game. I've seen names I haven't seen in years pop up like, yo, hey, Louie. And, it's funny. I enjoy this, though. I get a kick out of this. But when, I told you I'm a big, like, studier of people. Like, that psychology piece. I always like to know what people are thinking, why they do the things that they do, which is why I like crime shows. Because, people do a lot of crazy shit, and you're just like, well, why in the hell did you do that? But humans are weird, and that's why you study the psychology of humans. But people always announce who they are and who they root for. Like, hey, Louie, longtime Eagles fan here. Hey, Louie, Saints fan here. Like, I love it though, because it lets me know that I've been doing this for over a decade and I've touched a lot of fan bases, not just my own. And that was the goal when I started this, was I'm an NFL guy. I tell y'all that all the time, through and through. I love the NFL. And when Washington isn't good, I still love the NFL. I'm still watching because I'm an NFL fan. I'm not just a Washington Commanders fan. And people been reaching out from different fan bases. Cardinals fans, Saints fans, Jags fans, Vikings fans. Like, yo, Louie, been watching for XYZ amount of years. I go back to the whiteboard. Just want to say, man, I'm happy for you, bro. You've been through a lot. And that shit means a lot to me, man. I appreciate y'all reaching out, showing love and support. Because, yeah, we've been through a lot. I've been through a lot. But I told every single Commanders fan to a T, I said, if you've been through the storm, and a wise man once told me, it'll be all over in the morning. In the morning. I said, if y'all could just get through this storm. It was a long ass storm. That shit was like 25 years long. But if you could just get through that storm, it'll be all over in the morning. That was a long ass night though, won't it? And I said, it's gonna be so much sweeter when this shit pops, when we finally start to reap the benefits of all the shit we've been through. It's gonna be so much sweeter. Y'all just gotta hang in there. And now look at us. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Hold on. You gotta get the water for this. Who would have thought? Not me. Not me. But here we are. Do you believe? I do. I do. And this ain't just a, hey, NFL, we put you on notice. This is we winning the Super Bowl. Like, we ain't just come here. I had a conversation with Miss Championship. We were talking a week ago. And she asked me about a receiver that was available. And I was like, nah, that ain't the way to go. And she was like, yo, she's like, look, I'm desperate over here, man. I just want to win. She's like, I'm not trying to just get to the playoffs just for the sake of being in the playoffs. And I was like, me neither. But that ain't the way to go about it. I said, guess what? We finna do damage. We good. We good over here. We got everything we need. The brotherhood is strong. We got everything we need. I said, we ain't just showing up. We ain't just here for them to take attendance in the playoffs. Us to say, here, and then when the wild card weekend is over, we gone, right? That ain't what we showed up to do. We got perfect attendance. We was there in the wild card weekend. We was there in the divisional round. We here for the championship. And when they call roll in the Super Bowl, here, we gonna raise our hand. We here. We got perfect attendance. That's what I'm about. Black Al B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My God, the Black Al B writes, what it do, Lou? What's going on, Black Al B? A show for you. The Night Agent. Already watched season 1. Season 2 about to come out in about a week or two. I'm all over that, bro. Come on now. You already know what type of time I'm on, man. Stop it. Netflix junk. Yeah, I already watched that. Whole season 1. Espionage action thriller. Put it on the list. Done. Beat you to it. Beat you to it. I forgot what show it was when he said, ain't nothing. Oh, it's Martin, where he said, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. When Martin had him saying that at the end when he was checking for Pam, not Gina, at the shoe store. He was like, yo, I don't know how you do it, bruh. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. I been did that. I already took care of season 1. waiting on season 2 patiently with a Birdman hand rub. Like, come on, man. But they already told me it's coming. So I'm waiting patiently. So it's all good. This is what I need you to do, Black Albie, because I know you connected. You plugged in. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to talk to the powers that be over at Disney/Marvel. And I need you to get them to bring Luke Cage back for season 3. We got Jessica Jones and Daredevil. Not that Daredevil wasn't good, but I didn't need Jessica Jones season 3 and 4 and all that shit they get. But they had a nerve to cancel Luke Cage before it was just getting good. I need you to work your magic and tell them, hey, bring back Luke Cage. So I'm going to put that on your plate, man. Tell them to bring Luke Cage back. We got Marvel Phase 5, Phase 6. Where Luke Cage at? It ain't too late to add him in this Phase 6. Phase 5 done. I get it. It ain't too late to add him into Phase 6. Work your magic, Black Albie. Make it happen. Abel Ambrosio. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, would have been your wife's reaction if she was still a Dallas fan seeing Washington and Philly in the championship game? I don't like to talk about those type of hypotheticals because I couldn't have married my wife if she was still a Dallas fan. I couldn't do it. I had to convert her first, and then I could put a ring on it. Right? Like, it's crazy when you see these couples and one's rooting for the enemy and the other one's rooting for the good guys. And you're like, how did that happen? Now, I'm bullshitting. I would have still been with my wife. But here's the thing you got to know about my wife. My wife is extremely pro-black. Almost to the point where I'm like, yo, you tripping. She's super pro-black. But she can't stand Jerry Jones. That's why I was able to convert her. You know, when I first met her, she was hardcore Dallas fan. Like, come on, bro. We used to joke about it all the time. But that whole Colin Kaepernick situation and how Jerry handled it, that shit turned her off. Like, all the way off. To the point where it was no going back. And I saw the opportunity. I saw the crack, right? You know, when you can see, like, if you were a wrestling fan, you could see where there's a little crack there in a tag team, right? Where you could step in and force them to break up. I saw my opportunity. And I dove in like, hey, come on, man. We ain't doing we didn't have the best situation, but Daniel Snyder won't on some Jerry Jones shit, right? All my players are gonna kneel for the national anthem. We respect the police and what they do for this country. Nah, we won't doing that. You know, Dan Snyder was keeping his mouth nice and shut. So it was easy to convert her. And I did. And I'm glad it happened because she ride for the kids, she ride for the squad. And seeing the way these Cowboys and Giants fans crashing out right now, it would have been ugly. Like, I just think about my mom. Like, my mom don't watch football. My mom she's a troll. She would root against the team that I was rooting for just to be able to say, aha, y'all lost. That's my mom, right? So my mom by trade is a Dallas fan just because she used to always root against the team I wanted to win. So that's what my wife would have been. She would have been like my mom, just trolling and just being a dick for no reason. But I don't have to worry about that. I'm blessed. I don't got to worry about that. Errol Jackson Jr., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Errol writes, I clipped an Eagles roundtable. They are asking Jay Carter to take the 15-yard penalty to suplex Jalen. Jaden, excuse me. They are scared and they want him in the blue tent. That's the type of energy I like, because when you take that route, you're doomed to fail. Like I said before, and I said this on my show earlier, that I posted the day after, we got a lot of God-fearing men on our team. Dudes that are just good dudes, like Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Bobby Wagner. These are God-fearing men who are just good dudes. I brought up the instance where first play, second play of the game, I think it was the second play of the game, Amik Robertson gets injured, friendly fire from his own teammate, helmet to the forearm. He can't even hold his arm. They got to hold his arm as they walking him off the field. It's bad. And their rookie corner out of Alabama, I'm seeing his face. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. He's taking a knee. He's praying. And Jaden comes over, puts his hand on his shoulder. And he gets up, and Jaden leads him in a quick prayer. Terrion Arnold, that's his name. Terrion Arnold. He leads him in a quick prayer for Amik Robertson. And he told that story after the game, did Terrion Arnold. Like, that's why Jaden is one of one. He's different. Josh Allen ain't gonna do that. Lamar Jackson ain't gonna do that. Jalen Hurts ain't gonna do that. Patrick Mahomes ain't gonna do that. And I'm not telling, like, that's not how everybody's wired. I get it. And I say Kobe, Jordan, Jaden. Kobe and Jordan weren't going to do that. If a dude went up for a dunk or a layup and he fell on somebody's foot and turned his ankle, and it's a significant sprain, Jordan isn't coming over and praying over that dude as he's, on the ground writhing in pain. Neither is Kobe. But just because my quarterback, my receiver, my linebacker, and others on this team are God-fearing men doesn't mean they won't rip your heart out, throw it on the ground, and watch you bleed out in a heartbeat in an instant, because they competitors. Don't get it twisted. But they just good dudes. And for somebody to wish injury on Jaden because they want their team to win, that ain't how we wired. That ain't how we set up. That ain't how we conduct business. God don't like ugly, and neither do the football gods. So when you hear people say stupid shit like that, it ain't going to benefit them. That's how your quarterback end up in the blue tent. You notice, we won't say that shit about nobody quarterback. At least people that roll in my circles don't. I can't speak for you and other people that you might be around and the shit that you might be seeing. I can tell you right now, I don't wish injury or ill will on any team or player that we playing against. If you already got an injury and we about to play you, yeah, I want you to miss the game. I ain't got shit to do with that, though. You already had an ankle injury. You already had a hamstring. And if that's bothering you, yeah, I'd love the advantage if you can't go. But once you healthy and you playing in the game, I don't want to see nobody get hurt. That ain't how I operate. And I don't want no excuses neither, right? So you're not going to get that out of us. But that's what Lions fans were saying. Hey, take a 15-yard penalty if you got to send him to the blue tent if he's going to run it 10 to 12 times. Okay, bro. But then when we light your quarterback up on a legal hit, I don't give a shit what Mike Pereira says. That was a legal hit by Frankie Louvu. You throw a pick, you do the crime, you got to do the time. And then he end up in the tent. Now, that same guy that was talking that dumbass shit about, hey, I don't care if you got to take a 15-yard penalty to send him to the blue tent. Hey, that's a cheap shot on my quarterback. Shut your dumb ass up. Shut your stupid mother effing ass up. You asked for that shit. Don't start complaining and crying now because it happened to your quarterback. You were asking and advocating for that shit to happen to my quarterback. Now it happens to your quarterback in a legal manner, I may add. You were advocating for somebody to go out of their way, which Kirby Joseph did twice on the sidelines, and I wasn't appreciative of that shit. He pushed the hell out of my guy 2 yards out of bounds, almost pushed him into the goddamn camera, fixture, the shit that stretches up, that black thing that they got down by the end zone. He almost pushed Jaden into that shit. And Allegretti came over and got in his face, and I was like, hell yeah, Allegretti. Let him know. That shit is not acceptable. Hell is wrong with you? I really wanted somebody to get up in this shit and push him hard. Let him know. And had the officials have to come in there and separate him. Just to set the tone like, hey, don't be putting your hands on my quarterback out of bounds with your dumb ass. But it's all good because they got what they deserved. And Eagles fans talking that shit, I done already seen multiple clips of Eagles fans advocating injury. It's coincidental that their quarterback ended up out of the game the second time. Should have been out of the game the first time. That man had a concussion. You ain't telling me no different. But they the ones advocating for injury. I ain't gonna tell them how to think. But all I know is God don't like ugly. And neither do the football gods. So I'ma just chill to the next episode. You know why? Ain't nothing but a Jaden party. Ain't nothing but a Jaden party. Ain't nothing but a Jaden party. I told y'all about this a long time ago. Karma, she's an unforgiving bitch, boy. Whew. She's a nasty hoe. I could talk to her like that because we get down. That's my girl. She know it's all love. She don't take that up. She don't take that personal. She don't play no games at all. I don't say no names. She don't play no games. But she know. She know who she got to go after. She know what she got to do. I don't upset her. And again, we got that relationship. She found that funny because that's how we talk. We talk to each other like that. You should respect the game. That should be it. So I always tell people, you should respect the game. Black Al B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. All right. Should have known you'd be on that show. LOL. Nothing but love to you and all the mob. Go get it. I appreciate you for trying to fill me in, though. Like, it's no telling if I'm going to be on it or not, because I was late to the, what's the dude Tom Cruise played in the movies? And then they had, it's a show on Amazon Prime. And I like Tom Cruise in those movies, but if you watch the show and you read the books, Tom Cruise had no business playing that role. Tom Cruise like 5'8". Jack Reacher. You need a 6'4", 250-pound dude playing Jack Reacher, which is what they have in the Amazon Prime series, not Tom Cruise, right? Tom played the hell out of the role in the movie, though. I ain't gonna front. But and they did a good job of zooming in on Tom Cruise and making him look like he was tall in some of those moments where he was being a badass. But Tom Cruise is 5'8", bro. 5'8" is 5'8". That series is awesome. I got to that party late. Me and my wife had to binge watch the first 2 seasons to catch up. And now we waiting patiently on season 3. I think it's right around the corner. I think they've already announced a date for that to release. But, I be getting to some shit late. So you can never tell if I got to it or not. So I appreciate you throwing that out there just in case I hadn't gotten to it. But, that's my type of party right there. So I was all over that. Glad you graced us, all us fans of other teams with your gift, man. I'll see what you can do about Luke Cage, LOL. He says, I'll see what I can do about Luke Cage. I appreciate you. I need that in my life. I need that Luke Cage back. Talk to him, man. I know you got the juice, bro. I know you got the juice, Black Al B. I need Luke Cage back. Make it happen for me. I appreciate you, Blackout B. Make it happen. Abel Ambrosio. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Double A. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, it still feels unreal to be going. He says, it still feels unreal. It's going to be 5 years on Sunday since Kobe Bryant passing. Where were you when you got the news? I remember like it was yesterday. Me and my wife, at that time, she was not my wife, but we were living together. We were watching TV, something random. Matter of fact, we weren't watching TV because I'm not a big TV watcher. She was on her phone, as she often is, and she was like, "Oh my God, they're saying Kobe Bryant got in a plane crash." And I'm like, "Man, fuck out of here with that shit." I said, "Wait," because people be saying some really crazy shit on social media, and I always tell y'all, be careful, man. I always tell y'all, it's not safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe out there. So be careful. And I always say, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man, Louie T. That's a year-round thing. I always emphasize it during the draft season, but that's especially on social media, man. So I was like, cite your source. What's your source? And she told me it was TMZ. And back then, TMZ was not a reputable source then. I think it was that Kobe situation that made TMZ like, yo, if TMZ said the shit, it's got to be like TMZ was like the National Enquirer at that time. So when she told me that shit, I said, what you see? I thought she got it off Facebook or some bullshit like that. People spread rumors, say stupid shit all the time. She's like, TMZ reporting it. I'm like, man, fuck out of here. That shit ain't true. TMZ? Man, nah, he good, man. I ain't trying to hear that shit. So I turned the TV on, and this shit was everywhere. And that's when I was like, oh shit. TMZ might be on the cutting edge of some shit here. And that was right around the time when TMZ started paying big money for every, major story. And they had like footage and pictures and all kinds of shit. Like they must have got to somebody that was like a first responder or something because they had shit that nobody else had at the time. And I just remember thinking, this is unreal. I sat there and I think I took in about 8 hours of that Kobe Bryant coverage till I couldn't take anymore. Him and his daughter and all the others that were on board of that flight. And then they started like dissecting the pilot and, the weather and should they have flown. And I remember like feeling like just numb, like not Kobe, you know what I mean? Not Gigi. Yeah, it was surreal, you know? So yeah, it was wild. And I remember that was like the beginning of 2020 kicking off. And 2020 was a wicked year. It was a lot of crazy shit that went down in 2020. And it was started with Kobe. I remember people was like, yo, we throwing 2020 away. We giving that shit back. Like once Kobe passed, it was like, yo, let's restart the year off and let's do this shit the right way because this ain't how the year is supposed to start. And his death kicked off a series of like unfortunate circumstances, including COVID. Like I think 2 months later, a month later, I was on vacation when COVID hit, like really hit. So yeah, 2020 was a sumbitch, and it really started with Kobe. Yeah, unfortunate. Yeah. Still surreal. And, you know, obviously Kobe was a GOAT, but I liken him to Sean Taylor in the way that he has kind of morphed into this godlike figure, right? He's morphed into this larger than life figure because of the stories that are told about Kobe Bryant. And so many people have Kobe Bryant stories. I can't get enough of them shits. I just watched one. Literally, it's crazy you brought him up. I literally, before I came on here, I watched the short, Gordon Hayward. I love shorts. Those shits are addictive. Whoever came up with the idea of shorts was a genius. It gets the attention span of people who don't have attention spans. I have a very large attention span. I don't have a problem watching long form content, but most people don't like long form content. They like shorts. And I thought that shorts wouldn't be something that I would enjoy, but I love them shits. I'll sit there and go down the rabbit hole on them shits. And I was just watching Gordon Hayward. He was telling a Kobe story. I could relate to this story. I ain't gonna tell you a story. I ain't gonna waste your time telling you the story. But I could relate to that story. And it's just funny that you brought Kobe up because it's so many of them type of stories people tell about Kobe, and you're just like, man, can't believe Bean ain't here, right? He was gonna be one of those dudes that he was gonna be a resource. Like his playing career was over. He had so much a wealth of knowledge that he could pass on to the next generation, and he was gonna be willing and able to pass that shit down. And when like Jordan was never like I won't say never, but he wasn't as open as like Kobe was gonna be willing to talk to that next generation, and they idolized him. Like Jordan wasn't going back and reaching back and trying to help the next generation. He was trying to kill him because he was like 80 still trying to play ball. So he wasn't trying to give him the game. Kobe was done. He was ready to go on to the next phase of his career. He had done the whole documentary, the Muse documentary, and he had ventured into other like he was willing to give the game up. He was going to really bless these young boys and tell them what the Mamba mentality was all about. And then just like that, he was gone. So yeah, that shit was crazy. Anyway, I digress. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Luke Cage season 3 confirmed. No, it's not. And you a troll for that too, Meta. You ain't shit for that. But Kevin Hart is as Luke Cage. That's the equivalent of Tom Cruise being Jack Reacher. you put a 5'8" dude, Kevin Hart might be like 5'6", as a dude that's supposed to be like 6'4", 250. You ain't shit for that, Meta. You ain't shit for that. Miss Championship, you out there? Let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. Only you would know the answer to this. Nobody else out there would know the answer to this. I was listening to a song the other day I hadn't heard in a long time. And I know you on your music tip. So I can talk about this with you. Nobody else. Don't cheat in this championship. Either you know it or you don't. I'm not mad if you don't know it. But I know me and you, we like kindred spirits. And just so you know, I got some stuff cooking up on MusicHead. Obviously this playoff run has consumed me. This has been all consuming. But I got some stuff cooking up over on the MusicHead. So stick with me. Miss Championship, you still out there? You still out there? Before I be talking to myself, you still there? Okay, I see you. Yeah, you still there. So I was listening to a song came up the other day, and I was listening to it, And I was like, damn, this is a vibe right here. Who is this song by? Let me see if you know this. And if you don't know it, you don't know it. I'm not mad at you because this is like you got to be cut from a different cloth, and I know you cut from a different cloth like me. The song is called "Special Kind of Fool." Special Kind of Fool. Who sing that song? It's easy for you to probably Google it, but I know y'all ain't like that. If she get it, then I know she get it. But if y'all get it, you looked it up. You cheated. Do you know that song? You know who sing that song? You cheated. You cheated. You cheated. You cheated. You knew who sung it, Miss Championship. I was vibing my ass off. I hadn't heard that one in years. I hadn't heard it in years. I had to add it to a playlist, a couple playlists actually. I hadn't heard that one in years. That shit hit me like, that shit hit me hard, Miss Championship. That shit hit me hard. Matter, you ain't know that shit. You looked it up on Google. You ain't like that. You ain't about that life. Miss Championship, no though. That shit hit me hard, boy. I was vibing to that one hard. Oh man, that one took me back. Anyway, I digress. So let's go to garbage time. I've been over here just rambling. Y'all know how I do sometimes. She said, that's on my heartbreak playlist. Look at you. Special kind of fool. He was, you listen to that song, he was a special kind of fool too, right? Like Mario Winans type of fool, where you like, I don't even want to know. Like, don't even tell me what you got going on. I'm gonna give you my credit cards. You go to the mall, buy whatever you want. Like, bro, what we doing over here? Have some respect about yourself. But that shit was a vibe, though. That shit was a vibe. Anyway, I digress. So let's talk about these final four teams left. NFC Championship, AFC Championship. Give you a couple of little storylines from these two games, and then we'll get out of here. I've been just rambling because, when I'm late night Louie and I got some drink up in me, I just be all over the place sometimes. I appreciate y'all. So let's start with the AFC Championship. I say the best for last. Chiefs, Bills. The excuse me, easy low hanging fruit storyline from that is clearly Chiefs going for a three-peat. Never been done in NFL history. Have a chance to do something no NFL franchise nor quarterback has done. Mahomes and the Chiefs have played in 7 straight AFC Championship games. They own some New England Patriots shit. I remember saying that when they played Brady in 2018 and they lost, Mahomes' first year as a full-time starter, they lost in that championship. I said, man, that felt like a passing of the torch. Even though they lost, I said, that feels like this is about to be the start of the Chiefs being the new Patriots, because Brady was on his last legs in New England. And they won that Super Bowl that year, but I was like, that's it for them. They're not winning no more of these shits. And they didn't. They got eliminated in I want to say the wild card weekend in 2019, Brady got bounced by the Titans, if I'm not mistaken. And he left the next year after 1920, he was in Tampa Bay. And it's been since 18, that first one they lost, Mahomes has been to the championship game every year. 7 straight now. He's 6-0 in the divisional round. I mean, this shit is crazy, bro. That's like Jordan stat. That's a Jordan stat. Like, that's wild. So obviously them trying to go for a three-peat is wild. I mean, this shit is crazy. And the crazy part is they're not even that good. Like, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't trust them beating Philadelphia. If we don't beat the Eagles, which I can't even see a world, I can't even exist in a world that we don't beat Philadelphia on Sunday. I can't even fathom us not beating them. But if somehow that didn't come to fruition, I don't trust the Chiefs to take them out. It'd have to be Buffalo. It'd have to be Josh Allen. I don't know if I trust the Chiefs to do it again. They barely did it the last time. But those boys are chasing after history. So they're dangerous. And that defense is still good. Mahomes can't count them out. That's the storyline on the Chiefs side. I wonder if Andy Reid would come back, because we were talking about maybe Andy Reid might hang it up after the first Super Bowl. Then he won again, and you're like, yo, is Andy going to come back? And I remember, what was my man's name? Shit, he retired too. He got Andy in a side room after the second Super Bowl. And then he ended up retiring not too long thereafter. And he was the only one. He was one of the few guys in the league that had that kind of clout. Like, Andy is celebrating winning the Super Bowl, and you able to get him to duck out into a side room and do a quick little 8-minute video with you. Damn, I can't. Why? I can see his face. I can't think of his damn name. Sheesh. He had a column, I think, right? Like, it was some shit like that. I think. Y'all know who the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, I wonder if Andy Reid would hang it up if he won 3 straight. Because you can't go out no higher than that. I mean, Jordan said when they won the last championship, he wanted a chance to defend it. Somebody needed to beat him. And they never got that chance because they broke the Bulls up after that. They blew it up. I don't know. I don't think Andy going nowhere. But if they won 3 straight, that would be crazy. Crazy. And, there's been a lot of conversation about Mahomes getting preferential treatment. It's Mahomes, bro. Like, when you the face of the league, you get that shit. Brady was the face of the league. He got hit low. Carson Palmer got hit low by Kimo von Oelhoffen. They ain't create no rule for the low hit on the quarterback after that shit. That man tore his ACL, missed the whole playoffs. The Bengals lost that playoff game, and they ain't create no rule for him. Brady gets hit low first game of the 2008 season, and they create a whole rule for not hitting quarterbacks low, bro. Like, it's levels to this shit. I always tell y'all that. It's levels to this shit. Mahomes gets preferential treatment. Don't fool yourself in thinking that he doesn't. Y'all know how close we are to Jaden Daniels being in that conversation? Like, if this shit continues, if Jaden Daniels wins the Super Bowl, he's in Patrick Mahomes territory in terms of, hey, you touch him, you breathe on him the wrong way. And we know our guy is a little bit more mobile. He's a little bit more adventurous than Patrick Mahomes is. But that shit Kirby Joseph was doing, you can't get away with that. If we win the Super Bowl and Jaden becomes if he becomes the NFC face of the NFL, because that's where he's trending right now, you won't be able to get away with that shit, pushing him 2 yards out of bounds. That's 15, bro. Mahomes be on some extra shit, though. Like, he be trying to bait you. He'll slow down by the sidelines Then if you barely touch him, he throw himself on the ground and then look at the official and then throw his hands up. And you gotta be careful with him. He be on some hoe shit. He be on some hoe shit. You gotta watch him. But that Chiefs team, that defense, man, I don't believe in the Chiefs offense at all. But that defense, I've seen, and I thought his head coaching career was over. Thought it was done. With Steve Spagnuolo, I see his name circulating around league circles as a guy that could be getting interviews and could potentially be back in the mix as an NFL head coach. I thought he was done. I thought he was a Dick LeBeau. Like, all right, he done as an NFL head coach, but he finna be one of the best defensive coordinators until he decided to stop doing it. Right? He's diabolical. So as long as they got him and Chris Jones and Hump and Trent McDuffie, hey, and shit. Now they all of a sudden they got the edge rusher from Purdue, Karlaftis. He's starting to turn the corner and shit. I don't know, man. They pretty damn stout on defense. So that's the storyline on the Chiefs side. Can they three-peat and be the first team in NFL history to do so? On the Bills side, we all know what it is. Can Josh Allen finally break through? Beat Lamar. I told you that was a big game because one of those two quarterbacks was going to have a chance to break through. And I believe the Bills are going to win in Championship Sunday. I believe they're going to win that game. Allen has had success against Kansas City in the regular season. He beat them again this regular season. He struggled with the Chiefs in the postseason. They had him. They had them 3 years ago. Had them. And then the 13 seconds happened. They had him. I think this is the time he finally gets him because this is as vulnerable as the Chiefs have ever been. And it's crazy because last year they had less talent on offense. They had less talent on offense. Way more talent. They are strapped. Honestly, they are strapped. The offensive line stinks, though. Last year's offensive line, way better. This year's offensive line, they got Joe Tooney at tackle. That shit stinks. With the injuries and what they've been through, it stinks. But they find a way to get it done. They can't run the ball. Last year, they was running that hoe. They can't run the ball, none of that. I think the Bills are primed and ready to take advantage, but that offense wasn't great in the championship game. I ain't gonna hold you. They had a good first half. That second half, they was holding on for dear life. If not for Ravens turnovers, I'm not sure if they get it done. If not for Mark Andrews drop, I told y'all I thought they was gonna win that game anyway because they scored too quick. And I looked at the time and I said, "Oh, no matter what happens here, if they get this 2-point conversion, Josh Allen with 2 timeouts and a minute and I think it was like a minute and 20 seconds left, bro, that's an eternity for Josh Allen. They finna get in the field goal range. I think they're gonna beat the Chiefs, man. And if they can do it, that look, you need a Super Bowl to validate you as a quarterback in this league. If you want to be considered one of the best, you need a quarterback to validate. I mean, a Super Bowl to validate you. Josh Allen ain't even been to the Super Bowl, let alone won one. He been to the AFC Championship game, but you need a Super Bowl to validate you. Here's an opportunity. And as I've said before, you can't be sure that you're going to get back here. They were there 3 years ago. Lost to the Bengals, lost to the Chiefs last year, both in the divisional round. They ain't been to the AFC Championship game since 21. That's the only time Allen has been. This will be his second time. You can't be assured you're going to get back here. I'm pretty sure Dan Marino thought after his second season where he went to the Super Bowl, oh, bro, I'll be back. Don't worry. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. That man never made it back to the Super Bowl. Never. Don't take this shit for granted. Got an opportunity, got to seize it. I think they will. But that's the storyline for the Bills. Can Josh Allen finally break through? Can he finally lead the Bills to their first ever Super Bowl championship? We know how many times they've gone to the Super Bowl. Went 3 straight years, didn't win it. With those Jim Kelly, Marv Levy, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Bruce Smith teams, Daryl Talley teams. We know. Wait, 4 years in a row. What am I saying? 4 years in a row. Giants, Redskins, twice against Cowboys. 4 years in a row. Let me put some respect on it. We'll never see that shit again. We'll never see a team go 4 years in a row to the Super Bowl. Never. Chiefs are what? 3 in a row right now? If they win this shit, they ain't going back next year. Because I've said this many times. We'll never see a team go 4 years straight to the Super Bowl. You could try to disparage the Bills, and you could try to demean them and minimize their impact, but we'll never see that shit done again. You need to put some respect on them Bills names. Them teams was something else. I get it. All of that was really preceding free agency, so you had your same squad, so they got to run it back every year, but they was different. They was built different. Because you know how hard it is. We talk about the Super Bowl hangover. Like, you lose the Super Bowl, you don't really bounce back that next year. They lost the Super Bowl every year and went to the Super Bowl the next year, every year. Like, do you know how rare that is? Generally, if you lose the Super Bowl, you're like a 6-win team the next year. I mean, think about all the Super Bowl losers here. You just think about the last 5 Super Bowl losers and what the next year looked like for them. Eagles made it to the playoffs and imploded, right? Imploded in 2022 or 2023, excuse me, after making it in 2022. They imploded. Rams beat the Bengals in 2021. The Bengals did make it back to the AFC Championship the next year and lost. But then this year, they didn't, I mean, 2023, they didn't even make the playoffs in 2024, right? I think they made it back that next year. 2021, they went to Super Bowl. 2022, I think they went to the championship game again, and then they lost to the Chiefs when Joseph Osai pushed Mahomes out of bounds, got the 15-yard penalty, and they made the walk-off field goal. I think that was 2022. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was 2022. But generally speaking, I mean, you go to the Super Bowl, you lose, it's usually not a good omen for you the following year. So, who lost the Super Bowl last year? Trying to think. Chiefs beat the 49ers. Look at what the 49ers did this year. I mean, right? Like, that's the shit that usually transpires when you lose the Super Bowl. So you can't discredit those Bills teams. They were something else. But that's the narrative. Can they win their first Super Bowl? Can Josh Allen break through? Those are the storylines following the Bills. That should be a fun game. You get to the NFC side. Man, all NFC East Super Bowl, NFC Championship game. Wild. I talked about earlier in the pod the crashing out that's taking place amongst Giants and Cowboys fans, and I'm here for all of it. And we'll have an NFC East Super Friends stream on Wednesday night. We'll have a Commanders Kings stream on Tuesday night. So your boy will be busy the next, few nights. And then I'll be live on Thursday night as we prepare for the Eagles in that championship game. So a lot going on. It's still crazy for me to even verbalize my favorite team being in the championship game. But it's something that I've been telling everybody, y'all get used to this. Like, I can't tell y'all to get used to it yet, because it's still sinking in. Like, yo, this is surreal. But this is our new existence. This is who we are now. We got one of the best in the game under center. This is who we are now. Embrace it. Bask in it. This is who we are now. Gone are the days of the Commanders having 14 of their 17 games at 1 o'clock. That shit is dead, bro. We'll be lucky to have 4 games at 1 o'clock next year. Between 4:25 and prime time. Well, you got one of them ones? What? Let us have some. And we play the AFC West, so that's 2 West Coast games. So that's already 4 o'clock just because it's a different time zone. Factor in that we're must-see TV. So both Dallas games, both Philadelphia games, if they're not on primetime, which you would assume one of those Dallas games, one of those Eagles games are going to be primetime. The other one that's not on primetime is going to be 4:25. We play the Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos. 2 of those games are going to be on the left coast, right? You play the Lions, Packers, Bears, and Vikings. At least 2 of those games are going to be either primetime or 4:25, right? Like, come on, man. We'll be on at 1 o'clock like 4 times next year. This shit's crazy. The storyline surrounding the Commanders is, without question, Jaden Daniels and this cardiac Commanders football team that has captivated the entire NFL world. People are befuddled. They are flummoxed as to how the Commanders have done what they've done. But if you've been watching, you need to not look any further. I'm on some Adele, Pumpkins E.I.O. Don't look any further than Jada Daniels. Adele, don't look any further than Jaden Daniels. All eyes on 5. Like Pop. All eyes on 5. Yeah. All eyes on 5. He has a chance to be the first rookie quarterback to play in the Super Bowl. That's the storyline. Yes, it's a team game. And yes, if we get to the Super Bowl, I'm going to be giving out mounds of credit to the entire roster because he didn't do this on his own. Can't get to the Super Bowl by yourself. But damn it, man. Damn it, man. Without him, we not even here. We're not even remotely close to where we are right now. And I don't think that's lost on any Commanders fan. We understand that we're here because of 5. And he's got a chance. Look, he's already established himself as the greatest rookie quarterback in NFL history. That's already been done. If he does nothing else, he could go out and throw 15 interceptions in a game on Sunday, and nobody would look at him any different. They'd be like, God damn, didn't see that coming. But he's already established himself as the greatest rookie quarterback in NFL. Now, we are getting to the point now where people are like, bro, don't even put quarterback. He's just the greatest rookie of all time. He's just the greatest rookie of all time. F what you heard. For him to get to the Super Bowl with this team, and again, this is a flawed roster. Far from finished. We just getting started. This was supposed to be a foundation-setting season, not a Super Bowl season, but yet here we are, and there's only one reason why we're here. Miss Championship. She said you got to do the Dennis Edwards jaw, woe jaw thing. why I rock with you. This is why you are a kindred spirit. this is why this is why we get down. This is why I love you. I can't with you. I cannot. I cannot with you. But this is why I love you. uh, if we win the Super Bowl, when we win the Super Bowl, if he gets to the Super Bowl, when we get to the Super Bowl, it'll be the culmination of the greatest rookie season, irregardless of position, in NFL history. So that's the storyline for the Commanders. Is not supposed to be here. Nobody gave us a chance against Tampa Bay. Nobody gave us a chance against Detroit. Nobody's giving us a chance against the Eagles. But they're coming around now. Now you got people like, yo, man, shit, I could see how they could beat the Eagles, but they ain't gonna pick us. That's the shit they do, right? They hedge their bet. They were like, yo, look, man, if this, and this happens, they can win. But I still think Saquon Barkley, that Eagles defense with Vic Fangio, it's gonna be too much. They don't have the balls to pick us. I love it though. Because that's what they did against Tampa. That's what they did against Detroit. Here we are now in the NFC Championship game. And no quarterback in the postseason is playing better than 5. No one. Not Allen, not Mahomes, and most certainly not Jalen Hurts. So you get to the Eagles and their storyline. It's pretty simple. You've been to the you've been to the NFC Championship game now 2 times in the last 3 years. You went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You didn't win. Howard Roseman has built a juggernaut of a roster. How many more times can you find it? Like the NFC East is getting more and more competitive. Obviously, with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders coming on like gangbusters, you can't expect Dallas to just go away quietly into the night. And but whether you believe it or not, the rest of the NFC is getting better because the quarterbacks are getting better in the conference. They're young and they got a ways to go, but it's not the pushover that it once was. You know, other teams are now finding themselves with young quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield is establishing himself as a legitimate quarterback that you have to reckon with. You're not going to be able to have sustained success if you're Philadelphia like you have where you've been able to take advantage of lesser teams who didn't have quarterbacks. And thus, speaking of which, in your own division, no less. So, with that said, how many more times can you envision yourself being the number 2 or the number 1 seed and having home field throughout? You literally didn't have to leave home. Jalen Hurts has not won a road playoff game, but he hasn't had to leave home. Speaking of which, where all my streak breakers are out there? Where all y'all at? Where my streak breakers at? Stand up. We in the building. Y'all know what it is. Streak breakers. Mount up. I see a streak. I smell a streak. Let's break it. Hurts has never lost a home playoff game. Boy, I see a streak. I ain't never met a streak I ain't like that I ain't feel like breaking. So the storyline for the Eagles is you gotta win the Super Bowl. Like, how many more times you gonna get to this point and expect to win? You almost fired Nick Sirianni last offseason. He was this close to getting fired. You probably gonna lose Kellen Moore. The Cowboys are probably gonna hire him. You're gonna have another offensive coordinator yet again. Like, how many years can you do this shit and continue to have success? This is an opportunity that you must take advantage of. Because you think Saquon gonna run for 2,000 yards again next year? You can't even be assured if Saquon's going to be healthy for 17 games. I mean, the man was healthy for 17 games this year. Not an ankle sprain, not, not a knee injury, nothing. He was fully healthy and the best running back all season long. He could be that same thing for you next year, but there's no guarantee. And without his production, you cease to exist. So if you're Philadelphia, the storyline is, hey, we got to capitalize. We got to add another Lombardi to the trophy case. The only way you can do that, though, is by eliminating a divisional foe that you've seen now for the third time this season, and the season series sits at 1-1. Somebody's got to break the tie. This is the rubber match. Then you got to go on the AFC side of the bracket and take care of a team that's going to be playing with an abundance of confidence, whether it's the Chiefs looking for three-peat, they've already gotten you in the Super Bowl once before, or the Bills, who are starving for their first NFL championship in franchise history. Either way, it's going to be tough. Because as I've said already, Jalen Hurts is the fourth best quarterback left in the NFL playoffs. Fourth best. Mind you, there's only 4 quarterbacks left, starting that is. Not to shit on him. He serves a purpose. He's a damn good player. I've said that many a times. But he ain't on Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or Jaden Daniels level. He just ain't. So I digress. That's going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T. We're going to get to the comment section. I know I got a couple more comments to get to. We're going to get to these real quick. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes? Crazier if three-peat stopped by first ever rookie to win. That would be wild, wouldn't it? That would be wild. I don't care how it comes. I just want it. I just want the chip. I don't care who it comes against. I think the nostalgia of Buffalo, Washington is off the charts because everything that has happened this year has had some sort of symmetry with 1991, and it would only be fitting if the team we beat in the Super Bowl the last time we were there is a team that we're meeting again. It's too much like right? I mean, who are we kidding? Like that's the storyline, right? The ultimate storyline is, oh my God. Last time Buffalo was in the Super Bowl, they played the NFC East, they played Dallas, but they also played Washington and the Giants. Here they are in the Super Bowl again, and they're staring at Washington. And the last time Washington was in the Super Bowl, they were playing the Bills. So talk about symmetry, you talk about irony, all of those things would be appropriate. But if it is in fact the Chiefs, I think we'll have more Commanders fans that night. Non-NFC, obviously, but the Chiefs are getting to the point now where people are starting to hate them if they don't already hate them. So, yeah. Would be epic. I'll say that much. Black Al B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Black Al B writes, Lou, can you imagine the bowl and the mob trip this summer? Oh, man. Curtis Mayfield voice, LOL. Man, oh, man. Hey. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Speaking of the trip this summer, what y'all waiting on? Get on that. Link is in the description. Yeah. I that that's wild. I never could have imagined that we'd be in this position, but here we are. Wow. We 60 minutes away from the Super Bowl. Unbelievable. You're unbelievable. Oh. You're so believable. I can't imagine. But I can though. I can though. I can. Anyway, I digress. Mm, mm, mm. We'll keep tabs on the coaching search. We'll keep tabs on what happens if more developments unfold. We'll come back because with the Lions losing, it feels like those were the dominoes that were supposed to be the first to fall. But most people assumed the Lions were going to the Super Bowl or at a bare minimum the NFC Championship game. Being that they didn't, it sped up the process. As you can see, Chicago might have pounced on Ben Johnson, and Aaron Glenn feels like it's inevitable that it's the Saints or the Jets. He wants the Jets job. We'll see if he gets it. And then after those two kind of get done, I think you're going to see a lot of these other teams move to try to get their vacancies filled as well. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this bonus pod episode of the Louie T Network podcast. Ohio State Buckeyes win the national championship, the first ever 12 playoff national championship. Good for them. Congratulations. They win that game 34-23. Ryan Day saves his job and gives himself a ton of leeway with the victory. Disappointing performance for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and his group, but they were outmatched. They were outmanned, outmatched. Ohio State had a ton more talent, and it showed. But good for them to get to the national championship. Ben Johnson heading to Chicago, reportedly. Kind of a surprise, kind of a curveball. We were all sitting dead red fastball. Oh, he's going to Vegas, going to hire Lance Newmark as his GM and kind of build this thing from scratch. He goes to the spot where it's the most ready-made to win. It was what we said about him all along last year. He was looking for a situation that he could go in and immediately turn them around and win. That's Chicago. Like, I don't love their front office, but the talent on the field is immense, both offensively and defensively. You get the right defensive coordinator in there, and all signs right now reportedly are pointing to, Dennis Allen being his defensive coordinator. And if that's in fact the case, well, Dennis Allen, you say what you want about him being a head coach, but he can coach up defense. So we'll see. But sometimes you get a new defensive coordinator, and while you got a ton of talented pieces there, they don't always fit what the next defensive coordinator wants to do. So again, we will see. You guys have a good one. Take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You should be getting 2 episodes of Commander's Nightly News from me tomorrow. One early, the other later on in the evening in our normal time slot. And then I will be live that night with the Commander Kings. And we'll go from there. We'll keep tabs on all the NFL news. And if head coaching vacancies are filled, maybe we'll come back. We'll have another episode of the podcast. But we'll be back, no doubt about it, on Wednesday for sure. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. God bless. Good night.